Hi, I'm guessing I'm live. I'm hoping I'm live. Um, Hi, I'm guessing I'm live. It looks like I am. If there's anybody there, maybe pop in a comment so I can see whether anyone's listening to this. That would help me know whether I'm live or not. Anyway, my name is Liz Doyle Hermer. I'm a life and leadership coach, and I'm super excited to be here. One of the things I do, the main thing I do, is help women connect with their truth, their inner confidence and courage that already lives inside. I help them connect with their purpose so that with those two things, you can live your life of full potential. And so I'm truly motivated by this because what I see a lot of us women, I'm going to put this down. I see a lot of us women with an amazing, bold, brave vision that we want to create for ourselves and for our world. But I also see, through no fault of our own, a lot of us dealing with inner self doubt, with inner critical thinking, with lack of confidence, with lack of courage, with a bunch of stuff that's just keeping us away from who we truly are and what we're truly capable of. Now, I don't know if I'll get into all of this in this video, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, and it's not our fault. Over centuries, over generations, we have been conditioned away from our truth, our power, our confidence, and our courage. And the time is now to change all of that, right? So I want to make it clear that whatever doubt you're dealing with right now, it is not your fault. Whatever fear you have, whether that lives in your body, in your heart, in your mind, or in your actions, it is not your fault. And I want to make it clear that there is 100% a way to change. The way I change things is through understanding how neuroscience work, how our brains and body change, how we can build new habits, new pathways, new neural pathways through practice and repetition. But I'm getting a little bit off track. So it's funny because one of the things I struggle with is my own inner critical voice, right? I have my own inner critical voice. And so part of my work, that inner critical voice in the past has driven me to over prepare, to be perfect, to do so much in order just to show up. And so one of the things I did not do for this presentation is over prepare, right? I've been studying these things for years. I said, I'm just going to come on and I'm going to chat. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if I'm proven wrong with this approach. Um, so, I'm going to jump in. So I want to basically start to describe, how we get pulled away from ourselves because of this inner critical thinking. I think it happens with so many of us. And so I see it showing up in two ways, right? I see these strong, beautiful, courageous women who, they just keep going for their dreams. They just get up, they force themselves to do what they want to do. They have a vision, they just get up, they force themselves to do what they want to do. And they override whatever fear, whatever doubt they have. They get up, they make themselves work, they strive hard. But a lot of times that inner critical voice is there, right? It's criticizing them as they go, it's knocking them down, it's chirping inside, it's saying, yeah, you did that, but you could have done this better. They're saying, yeah, but look what she did over there. She did that with so much more grace and ease. It's just always there at the side. So even though they're accomplishing, even though they're achieving, they have that harsh inner critical voice. Over time, if that is there, it will lead to burnout. We can only handle that for so long, right? So even though you might be accomplishing and achieving, if that inner critical voice is there, over time, it will lead to burnout and you will stop moving forward on your goals. So that's one way this inner critical voice can show up for us, one manifestation of how that works. The other one is that voice is so loud, it's so overbearing that we never get started. We're just stuck in inaction. We can't pick ourselves up. We never get past our own fear, our own doubt. And that is a huge loss, right? Because we never even get ourselves to the starting gate. So that's the other thing, right? That's the other way our inner critical voice can keep us from what we want. Both of those situations can be resolved with understanding our inner critical voice, with understanding how we can neutralize that voice, and with understanding how we can get past all of this to the inner warrior that also lives inside. Inside us, we already have confidence, courage, calm, compassion, clarity, grit, resiliency. You have that inner critic, that inner warrior is there too. All right, so let me dive in. All right, so the couple of things to know, and I see some eyeballs, so that's great. I think that means I'm actually recording live and that it's working. Just a couple things to know. So you have that inner critical voice. Your inner critical voice is actually trying to support you in some way. All right. So you are not a masochist. You're not trying to punish yourself for no reason. So even though your inner critical voice can feel like Kathy Bates in the movie Misery, and I might be dating myself here, even though your inner critical voice can feel like that, she's actually there to support you and take care of you in some way. And so this might seem counterintuitive. And I had my own inner critical voice who was quite, she was quite difficult. I actually went through the process, and I encourage you to do this, of labeling her, of naming her, of really getting a clear image of her. And so mine was, she was nasty. She, I call her Sam. That was just the first name that came to mind, so I apologize. To anyone who's named Sam. And she was very super wiry thin. She had blonde, like wiry curly hair. She smoked cigarettes, chain smoked them, and she just would judge me. Every time I did something, she'd be like, that was awful. She was not nice to be around. She was nasty, and she was persistent, and she was relentless, right? So, but in some way she was trying to support me. And so, what I want you to understand about this is that you are designed, right? Our bodies and brains are designed to either escape pain or to seek pleasure. Those are two things that drive us. We're always driven by those two things: escape pain or to get pleasure. So, in some way, your inner critic is meeting those needs. Right? So the very obvious one, how can your inner critic be helping you to escape pain? Right? So the obvious one that comes to mind is failure, right? That fear of failure. So in some way, perhaps potentially, we don't know why your inner critic is there. It's a process of self-discovery, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But in some way, your inner critic is helping you to perhaps escape the pain of failure, right? That's the obvious one that everyone thinks about. So you're scared of failing. That inner critic comes on to stop you from taking any steps that would help you lead to failure. The other one is success, right? And so that's another one that people think about. Well, maybe my inner critic is keeping me where I am so that I don't actually achieve success. Why might that be happening? All right, as women, we have not been encouraged to make money, to take the lead, to take up space, to raise our voices, right? We've actually been shamed and blamed and disrespected and put down and been called everything from the B word, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to swear, to being arrogant, to being aggressive, to not being ladylike. These are all things that have been said. Trump said that not too long ago to another woman, another leader. So anytime we have tried to expand ourselves, to take up space, to increase our chance of success, right, that has been something that has brought about pain for us in some real way. We've been told we've not been ladylike, all the things I just said, right? So our inner critical voice might come on to stop us from dealing with that pain of success, right? That pain of expansion, that pain of taking up space. Another one, this is a little bit complicated, but our world is not, let's just admit that our world is not super positively made for female empowerment right now, right? That's the world we've inherited. It's a patriarchal world. And so because of that, a lot of times we take steps to have success in our life, and we are in some way meeting the resistance of patriarchy, of misogyny. If you're a woman of color like me, you're meeting the resistance of oppression, all of that, right? Those things are invisible things. We can't see them, we only feel them. So we take a step towards our big, bold dreams, we meet that invisible resistance, and there's a part of our brain called the default mode. The part of our brain is trying to figure it out. The part of our brain is trying to figure out, well, what's wrong, right? How come we can't achieve what we want to achieve? In our default mode, it can't see the invisible constraints of patriarchy, of misogyny, of oppression. It can't see those things. What it can see when it looks in the mirror is ourselves, right? That's what it sees. And so sometimes it's default mode processing error. It's an error. We look in the mirror and we blame ourselves for things that are entirely outside of our control, for things that were established generations ago, centuries ago, for very real constraints in our world, constraints in how we achieve things that have nothing to do with us. So it's a default mode processing error. And then finally, another reason that your inner critic might be here, another thing it might be taken care of is just this has been modeled down to you in some way, right? And so this is something I can truly relate to. I had a mom who I had a dad who was hard on himself. I had a father who was hard on himself. This was something that was taught to him through his upbringing, just, be hard on yourself. And so that was modeled down to me, be hard on yourself. And so there's a false belief around that, which I think is good to know. There's actually this false belief, and if you are interested in the research, reach out to me, I can give it to you. But there's a false belief that having that inner critic is going to motivate us, is going to drive us further. And so that's one thing that also gets in the way with tackling our inner critic. We think it's there to help us. We think having that harsh inner critical voice will drive us further to achieve our goals, right? And so I see that with people. They think it helps drive them. And actually the research is 100% against that. When you have that harsh inner critical voice, you don't take on the big challenges, right? When you know that if you take on a challenge, if you know that you're going to beat yourself up when you fail, then you actually limit yourself from taking on that challenge. So truly what we need is to cultivate inner compassion so that we have the grit, we have the resiliency we need to take on challenges. And so we need to cultivate that ability in ourselves. When we take on a challenge, we need to know I am going to be there for me to hold myself in compassion, in love, in gratitude, and support so that I can be there for me, right? To be able to say, I tried, I failed, that's okay, I'm awesome, I got this, I'm going to do it again, right? So that harsh inner critical voice, it's actually, in the long run, taking us away from our ability to take on challenges. All right. Your inner critic is happening unconsciously and automatically in your body, right? Your inner critic is not something you're thinking about. You're not actually thinking, okay, inner critic, go now. It's just an automatic response that's happening in your body. It lives in your body. So there's something you need to know about your neural pathways. They were laid down at a very early age. So in your brain, in your body, you had a protein called myelin that was very active before age 8 and during adolescence. And what myelin does is it actually coats your neural pathways in a protein, which makes your pathways super automatic, super fast, and unconscious. Okay, so the thing to take away from this is that your inner critic was likely developed at one of these key critical periods a long time ago. So either in your childhood, maybe it was modeled down like mine was, or during adolescence, right? Maybe stuff was happening to you during adolescence. You started to blame yourself. Your inner critic evolved. And this was all stuff that happened a long time ago. These were all neural pathways that were laid down a long time ago. And these pathways are likely coated in myelin, and they are resistant to change. So that's the only thing to know. It's in your body, it's in your brain, it's happening unconsciously, it's happening automatically, it's happening outside of your awareness. This is why, point number 3, awareness is so important. We need to develop awareness of how your inner critic shows up. So this is part of the work I do with all of my coaching clients, is to, 1, start to get awareness of what kinds of situations trigger her. What kinds of situations trigger her? Is it when you are taking on a challenge and then all of a sudden she's there, right? Is that when she shows up for you? Is it when you've done something and you failed? Is that when she shows up, right? Is it when you see other people having success? Is that when she shows up? You tend to compare yourself to others. Just start to know what kinds of situations trigger your inner critic. And I have a practice that I do with all my coaching clients. They actually notice their day-to-day. They notice when she shows up. They notice, well, what happened just before that? they start to get awareness of what kinds of situations trigger their inner critic. The other piece to know is, okay, so what triggers her? And then also, what are the feelings and sensations that accompany her in my own body? And it's different for everybody, right? So for me, I noticed that I would start to just feel weakness in my legs, right? It's almost like my legs would give up on themselves, right? So that was one way that I knew that my inner critic was there, right? So there are physical sensations that accompany her. And a key tool, a key tip is just to start to get aware of those physical sensations in your body. So I'm pausing for a moment here. And what I'm noticing in my body, it's so funny, because my approach as a coach, I use a lot of tools. I use body based tools. So these are ways that I use my body, my breath, my attention to support me, to help me deal with challenge, with overwhelm. And so I'm noticing that right now in my body, my breath, I'm actually starting to feel a bit overwhelmed, right? Because speaking on cameras is outside of my comfort zone. And so what I'm going to do is actually just demonstrate one of the practices that I will do when I'm feeling that way. And in the moment, when I notice the overwhelm, I actually ground through my feet. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, or if you tend to feel overwhelmed, you can join me in this practice now. I'll ground through my feet, right? So I'm pressing my feet into the floor. I'll just notice that the earth is there supporting me. I'll remind myself that I'm supported by gravity, supported by ground. I'll feel my feet rooting down into the earth. I'll feel a feeling of rooting and grounding. And from that support, I'll find length in my spine. I'll extend the crown of my head towards the crown of the ceiling, towards the ceiling above. And I'll just start to take a few deep breaths. Right? I'll start to take a few deep breaths. And it's just a few moments, right? I've practiced this for a while. It's just a few moments. And suddenly I'm back to me. I'm back to clarity. I'm back to confidence. I'm back to courage. So that's one of the things I want to demonstrate is that those inner critical thoughts, those feelings, they're there. Once you have the awareness, once you know they're starting to arise in you, then you can develop a practice to bring yourself back to calm, bring yourself back to confidence, bring yourself back to courage. And in an instant, you can shift from inner critic to inner warrior, right? That's a superpower each one of us can cultivate. All right, so awareness of your inner critic gives you the ability to shift into your inner warrior, which I'm going to elaborate on later. There's another step there, right? So, awareness of your inner critic, how she shows up in your body. The other piece is compassion and gratitude for that inner critic, right? She has taken care of stuff for a while. And so, my inner critic, even though she was nasty, even though she smoked cigarettes and, said harsh words to me, she's actually driven me, she's actually given me tools to, uh, to to learn, right? There's benefits that have come from her, right? I've actually become hardworking. I've become disciplined. I've become high achieving, right? She has given me those things. She's actually, and those things, they made me feel good about myself for a long time, right? That ability to get straight A's. She drove me to get straight A's in school. She drove me to run races, right? She drove me to get up early and do exercise. She drove me to do a lot of things. And in a lot of ways, she's actually taken good care of me. And so, compassion and gratitude for your inner critic, because she has given you some tools, she has given you some support, is also an important piece. We don't want to wage war against her. We want to find compassion and gratitude for her. And then just that, what I just demonstrated there, right? That your inner critic, once you have awareness for her, once you understand why she was there, once you understand what she takes care of for you, then she gives you the opportunity to shift into the inner warrior that's already there, right? She's just masking something that's already there. You already have calm, courage, confidence, resilience, grit, determination, compassion, clarity. All of that stuff is already inside you. And so, as a coach, what I do is two things. I teach you tools to help you get awareness of what's getting in the way, awareness of the inner critic, awareness of the doubt, awareness of all that stuff. And then I also teach you tools to help you connect with the inner warrior, the calm, the courage that already exists inside. So, one of the ways I do that is through a strong visualization, a strong meditation that's actually available for free in my Facebook group, which is linked to in this video. So, you can just follow the link, like the Facebook group. One of the first things you'll see is that somatic meditation. Okay, it's using your body, your breath, your attention. And what I love about those tools, they are 100% free. They are 100% always with you, right? So a lot of times when we are feeling unease, so we'll start to feel that inner critic, we'll start to feel overwhelmed, we'll start to feel disconnected with ourselves. And a lot of times we'll go out and we'll buy something, or we'll eat something, or we'll just look outside ourselves to make ourselves feel better. And my approach is to teach you ways to connect with yourself, to use your body, your breath, your attention, things you always have with you, things that are 100% free, to help support yourself. So just like I showed in that practice I did not too long ago. So if this interests you, you can click on the link to my Facebook group. You can download that somatic meditation. That's a practice to use tools that you always have with you to support yourself, to shift out of your inner critic and into your inner warrior. Any questions, reach out to me. I'm here for you. I'm excited about whatever path, purpose you are on, and I'd love to support you in achieving your dream, your vision, your truth. All right, thank you. Bye.